So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share some data for folks that feel like they need to push back. Maybe you use this clip. Maybe you use these talking points. Either way, if you end up in those circles talking to these people who are like, yeah, the left is so radical, miss me with that. The right is super radical, and Donald Trump is leading the charge. So this comes from cato.org. For folks that are not familiar, I'll introduce you to cato.org. For more than 40 years, this is from their website, by the way, for more than 40 years, Cato has led the charge for liberty in our nation and around the world. The Cato Institute is an assiduously nonpartisan and independent public policy research organization, or a think tank, that creates a presence for and promotes libertarian ideas and policy debates. Okay, so that's cato.org. You're welcome to look this up on your own. These are not the words of Ramses and Q. This is from an organization that tracks this stuff. Okay, here we go. A total of 3,599 people have been murdered in politically motivated terrorist attacks in the United States from January 1, 1975 through September 10, 2025. Murders committed in terrorist attacks account for about 0.35% of all murders since 1975. Only 81 happened since 2020, accounting for 0.07% of all murders during that time, or 7 out of 10,000. Terrorism is the broadest reasonable definition of a politically motivated murder because it is the threatened or actual use of illegal force and violence by a non-state actor to attain political, economic, religious, or social goals through coercion, fear, or intimidation. That excludes individual hate crimes, which are frequently difficult to distinguish from terrorism, but are often more personal and spontaneous. 83% of those murdered since 1975 were killed by the 9/11 terrorists. And there's a chart, figure 1, okay? So that's 83% of the almost 3,600 right there, okay? 9/11. The Oklahoma City bombing accounts for about another 5%. Those murdered since 2020 account for just 2%. Terrorists inspired by Islamic ideology are responsible for 87% of those murdered in attacks on U.S. soil since 1975. And I want to be very responsible when I say that, okay? Because the Islamic terrorists that are responsible for those attacks are not representatives of Islam, the faith that more than 1 billion people on this planet practice. Islam is a faith of peace. It's like if people were to say Christianity is a faith of peace, but you took the KKK's version of Christianity to paint all Christians. That's not what we're doing with this data, okay? But this is call it an extreme right version of Islamic attacks. Okay, I'll continue. Since 1975. Okay, right wingers are the second most common motivating ideology, accounting for 391 murders and 11% of the total. The definition here of right-wing terrorists include those motivated by white supremacy, anti-abortion beliefs, involuntary celibacy or incels, and other right-wing ideologies. Okay? Now again, 11% of the total, right-wing. Left-wing terrorists murdered 65 people, or about 2% of the total. Okay, so we're going from 11% right-wing, 2% left-wing.